Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Oviedo City Council CRA Governing Board meeting. It is Monday, February 4th, 2019, about 5:30 p.m. We have 6 members present. Councilman Henkin is not in attendance at the moment. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to our director, Mr. John Jones.
Thank you very much, Mayor Persampier, gentlemen of the CRA Governing Board. Tonight, we're going to walk through 3 items that we have on our agenda. The first item is the minutes of the October 15th, 2018 CRA meeting. We are requesting a review of the minutes and, if found acceptable, a motion to approve.
Thank you, John. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of October 15, 2018?
I will move to approve. Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Seeing and hearing none, call the vote. All in favor of the motion to approve the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. John, you're up, and Councilman Henkin is now in attendance.
Very good. Thank you, sir. The next item on the agenda is a review of the community redevelopment plan with regards to the potential redevelopment of the post office facility. At the last CRA Governing Board meeting on October 15th, staff was requested to review the Oviedo Community Redevelopment Plan to identify if the potential development of a community center within the Oviedo CRA was identified as a desired feature, and if that development could be accommodated in a site other than Oviedo on the Park. Mr. Axel had a very specific question: can the community center be accommodated elsewhere in the CRA boundaries, and is that in accordance with the CRA plan? The adopted CRA plan does identify a community center as a desired feature in the strategies and recommendations section on page 85, and also as a potential project in the redevelopment agency implementation plan on page 94. The use of the Oviedo CRA TIF funds to support the development of a community redevelopment, or a community center, within the CRA represents a continued implementation of the redevelopment strategies identified in the plan, and the creation of a community center outside of Oviedo on the Park is authorized by the adopted CRA plan. So staff has reviewed the adopted community redevelopment plan and determined that the potential development of a community center at a site other than Oviedo on the Park within the CRA boundaries is an eligible project for the use of TIF fund revenue.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Any
Yes, sir.
questions? Well, hearing none, I'll start then.
Yes, sir.
Well, you know, the community center is certainly a goal, and with all the work that we've been doing for the seniors and Communities for a Lifetime, you know, it's something that I'd like to personally see us move forward and move along, you know, at the existing building we have. If staff feels that they're far enough along to make those recommendations, but I mean, that's just my thoughts on it. So I'll just leave it at that for now and see if there's anybody who wants to piggyback off of those comments. Councilman Henkin.
I think also we've been trying to get that fit for many years. The only question I have, it's a good location, everything, but you remember when we had the consultant come in and we talked about remodeling the place or tearing it down and replacing it, and remodeling it was kind of expensive, and it was almost cheaper and better to tear it down and build a new one on the spot. So I think we just need to see, Mr. Cobb, you remember that report that they gave us, that consultant they came in? We just need to see if those numbers still work. They might be cheaper or whatever, but certainly we need to do that. That's kind of like one of our missing pieces, a senior center. We've been asked for it for so many years, so I agree we should try to do it, but you know, I'm not sure that building is financially worth fixing. You know, at least it didn't look like it, and that's why we probably didn't move forward with it a few years back. So, but great idea, good spot, but we just got to figure out what building it's going to be, that one or a new one in its place. That's all I have.
Councilman Britton.
Well, I think we've got a consensus to work on a senior center or community center. That seems to be the go-to spot. I think what we need to do now is formalize the committee that we had been talking about with seniors and develop the list of attributes that the facility needs to have. I personally would like to have a world-class facility, but maybe we don't need a therapy pool or whatnot. But I'd like to see what the senior community thinks should be included in a facility like that, and then we can start vetting it. And once we know what we want to do, then we'll be able to figure out what it's going to look like.
How many you want on the senior committee?
I'm not sure what the status. I thought I saw a charter come across our desk a while back on the senior committee. Brian, did Lonnie send us something? Did you send us a boilerplate?
I sent you some examples from other
Okay.
jurisdictions. Yes.
I think we're in the mode now. We need to just formalize how many we want to have on there and how we want to select them.
City council appointed?
That's for us to decide.
Yeah.
All righty, let me see what other comments we have. I'll go all the way down to the end to Mr. Where are you, Tim?
I'm good.
You good? Dave?
I took the liberty of calling Drew earlier because I recalled back from, it was March 2017, is part of that presentation that Councilman Haken was discussing. And when I spoke with Drew today, he said that staff had obtained some bids back then, and with contingency, getting the building ready for use was $459,000, and evidently he's been asked to update that, and he's still waiting for some information to come in, but was thinking $575 to $600K. My recollection about the comparison was based on certain attributes the council was looking for way back then. I could tell you, taking that building and putting it in usable condition for $600K, given its size, is a pretty darn good deal. That place is really a solid building. It's just mostly updating the systems, making it ADA compliant and so forth. To speak to what Keith's mentioning, a senior center, I think the CRA has an opportunity to help fund or fully fund, depending on where the costs come in, the redevelopment of this building for any number of uses. One thing that comes to mind to me, and I don't really know the feasibility, if you consider the farmers market that's in Winter Park, that can have quite a few vendors because of the inside space. So we've got a sea of parking. We have outside space where that old building, the old modular, could be torn down. There's other parking areas nearby. Perhaps those property owners will let us use. So I think it's a matter of take it from me, Keith. Don't frown.
He's laughing behind your back about the parking.
He's just one property owner. On Saturdays, I'm talking about. So
is he even technically
I
a property
think,
owner?
What's that?
Is he even technically a property owner?
He's an officer or one, right?
I own stock in the bank. I guess that would be on the front.
So does the mayor. That don't count.
I have a vote then, too.
Well, I think I'd like to leave some money set aside from the surplus we have this year and look to next year and hear back from city staff when they get these numbers. And I think to invigorate the historic downtown would be a really good move of the CRA. So I'm all in favor of if the math comes back. I think one of the elements I talked to Drew a little bit about is I don't know that the city can afford to fully staff on a full-time basis that facility. So I think if the CRA can't pay for that type of thing, so I think this has to be a CRA council partnership to at least have some minimum level of staffing so that this facility can be used. So just something to consider when we come back. Perhaps the next meeting we'll have that information. That's all.
Thank you, Dave. Chief?
Like,
You're the only chief in here right now. I can.
Especially when you look at when this construction starts on 426 and what that's going to do to the farmers market's location now, that might be another location to move that farmers market to because of the parking availability, especially on Saturday, as part of the use of the building. And again, the council has talked many times about having a specific place for a senior center, and logistically that it seems like an excellent place to put it.
Deputy?
I'm just going to concur with what everybody else was saying. I think that, that...
It's tough to go hard after 7 of us, isn't it? After 6, to be number 7.
No, I think that it's a great place to do it. I would like to keep the building as opposed to tearing it down and building something different. It is a very strong, sturdy building. It just needs some TLC to get it up to speed. And I think it could be not just a senior center, but just a community center with senior programming. I think it's a great location. I think it will start allowing us to tie in the historic area with the new Oviedo on the Park as well. I think it's a needed amenity for the city.
All right, great, thank you. And Deputy Mayor brought up something that I had written down. I think we have to, my opinion would be that we concentrate this more as being a community center as opposed to, strictly a senior center. I think senior center should be part of the programming. But if we're going to put a committee together to, look at uses, maybe we broaden that committee just a little bit and, make it a community center, and let everybody get together, including the seniors, to say what's missing and what's needed, as opposed to just a senior committee group, because then it'll become a senior center, and then when we go to use it for something else, we could run into conflicts. I mean, it's just food for thought. John, Mr. Axel brought something up about the CRA not being able to fund staff in the community center. Is that true? Or I would think that for the life of the CRA, if we built this amenity with the CRA dollars, that we could fund the folks there, but I don't know.
The development and the funding of staffing in the CRA, in the senior center, using TIF dollars can be allowed. Yes, sir. The CRA is able to enter into employment contracts for facilities and functions within the CRA.
Okay. All right. Now, I'm not saying I'm advocating that. I'm just saying if it's a possibility or based on the document we have. I mean, I know there's other CRAs that do that.
Yes, sir.
So, all righty. So basically, gentlemen, I'll go back up and down one more time, and then I'll kind of look for a consensus on what I think I'm hearing, what I wrote down. I'll start with Tim. Do you have anything to add, Tim?
No, I like your idea of community center versus a senior center. And certainly, speaking for the bank, we would welcome any improvement across the street. That's been that way for 15 years.
Okay. I understand. You can see it right out your window every day. Dave, do you have anything else to add? Chief?
The only thing I agree that having a multi-use building would be advantageous other than a single-use building, if possible.
That's a good term. Bob, anything to add? No. Steve?
The construction professionals down there, Mr. Axel, when we redo that building, it does have some environmental concerns that I brought up with flooring and stuff. Are you comfortable that when we get the right contractor in there that can be removed and taken care of and that's good?
Drew had it in the budget.
Okay.
And I think we discussed this at a council meeting way back. It's a matter of choice. The asbestos that is there is what they call non-friable, and I'm certainly no environmental expert, but it's certainly not dangerous. It's the glue in the floor and the glue in the air conditioning. So you can encase the floor with a new floor, and then it's not a problem. The AC, it may be appropriate to redo the ductwork, but quite frankly, that space has been sitting there without the AC running for a significant number of years. It may make sense just to replace the ductwork anyway.
Right.
So there was a budget line item to clean it, but to me, you replace the floor and encase it, and it's a non-issue.
Yeah, okay, cool.
And I see the chief shaking his head. He must know something about these things.
Just a little bit.
Just a little.
Well, the air conditioner, that's probably the big one. The floor is easy, but yeah, I mean, it's a nice building, but I remember when I brought that up, and it was some members of the community that brought that up as well, a little concerned. So it'll be nice and clean and safe.
We deal with it in a lot of old buildings. It's not really as challenging as things like arsenic or petroleum or stuff like that.
Cool.
Keith, anything else?
No, I'm okay with that, but I would emphasize that the seniors that were in the senior committee, the over 40 of them, really want a destination. They want a place to call their own. So if we make it a community center, they're going to want a place to go and where they can do what they want to do with it.
Well, I didn't hear any one of us say that we would exclude them. I think what I'm
saying
hearing,
they're going to want a dedicated place. I'm just saying.
Well, I think what I'm hearing is that we want it to be multi-use. It can be dedicated at times as senior. It'd be similar to what they do in Winter Springs. I mean, it's a senior center because it has a pool, but they do other things there too. I mean, not just senior activities.
They do?
I've been to events there.
All right.
So, I mean, I would think that we have to.
Now, I would suggest maybe the model would be what Castleberry did. I think it actually was a senior center, and they converted it to a community center, and they did a very good job with that renovation. If we wanted to take a field.
Oh, the one over by the lake.
Yeah.
We were there for I think we did mayor's managers there one time. Yeah, that is a nice building. Right,
Mayor?
exactly. That was strictly senior, and then that became community.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. Yes.
Well, I think, too, as you look at renovating the interior, there could be a space that is dedicated to the seniors, so if they want to come in a Tuesday afternoon to play cards, they can do so, and with something else going on, because the building's big enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the building's 8,000 square feet, if I remember.
You could dedicate a space and still have a multi-use building.
Well, I think we're all on the same page. It's just, we don't have to dot I's and cross T's this evening. We're just global right now. So, essentially what I'm hearing and what I think the direction for staff and Mr. Jones is that we do have consensus to bring back some more final numbers on a renovation of the building sooner than later if we can. And then also, Mr. Cobb, I know Bobby had a complete plan of the pond renovation and everything down there. We were waiting on the final layouts for all of that. So, I mean, they've got to be further along because that was at least 6, 8, 9 months ago that we were shown those. So maybe we could just make sure how it all ties together and possibly bring back something to us in a few, because our next meeting will be at least 3 months from now, right?
Yes, sir.
Report. Maybe something to look at,
See if we can find something.
even if it's, just rough estimates, so that way.
The hard part, in talking with Mr. Bulwer, because I've asked him about it a couple of times, is we have a hard time getting the contractors to actually come out and give us updated data. They're so busy right now that just coming out to give us something for us to do planning with has been difficult for him. But I think there's only about 2 or 3 items that we lack that we can at least give you what we have, and then be able we can tell you then, well, we haven't gotten this new information yet on these other ones. But he's gotten the majority of them. There's just a couple of items out there that he's still lacking. So.
Well, perhaps a little help to Mr. Boulware from senior management that the CRA board is now prepared to possibly fund this will get them a little bit more interested, as opposed to we're thinking about doing this at some time in the future. Can you stop by and take time out of your day and just give us numbers? Now we're requesting proposals, so I think that might help a little bit. Anything else, gentlemen?
I just
Mr.
have
Axel?
a question to throw out for the council and the staff to think about. If the CRA makes a move to fund this, we don't have sufficient money this year. So the question is if we'd rather get these things complete all at once or piecemeal. I know we have the capability of borrowing from the council and paying back. The question is, does the council have the capacity and desire to do that? So I just want to throw that out there. So if we say, hey, the CRA will pay for this, but we have to pay Part 2 next year, if we can get this done, it might be nice to get this done.
Okay. Well, let's see what the numbers look like, and then we can go from there. We do have a banker sitting on the end. All righty. Anything else, guys, on item number 2? No. Hearing none. Turn it back over to you, Mr. Jones.
Thank you very much, Mayor Persampia.
Unless you had something to add to this.
No, sir. Based on the direction we've received, we'll coordinate with Drew regarding the timing of the project, funding options and costs available, and then make sure that we have the identification of the project in fiscal year 1920 CIP if necessary.
Okay.
And make sure it's classified such that TIF funds can be used for it.
Everybody agrees with that? Okay, we're good. Thank
Very
you.
good. The next item is the presentation of 2 programs addressing residential development in the CRA, a home improvement program and a home ownership program. This item introduces the home improvement and home ownership programs. The home improvement program is similar to a commercial facade grant program, but it is designed for homeowners in the CRA to improve their home, to address health and safety violations, or health and safety issues, code violations, and also to preserve decent, affordable housing within the CRA. Eligible improvements for the home improvement program, or the home rehabilitation program, include correcting health and safety issues, code violations, and making other repairs to the exterior of the home. Improvements include carports and garage conversions, driveway installations, environmental corrections for lead and mold issues, exterior lighting, exterior painting, foundation repairs, handicap accessibility improvements, replacing exterior doors and screens, replacing windows, roof system repair, sewer and septic connection fees, termite treatments, tree trimming and removal if a safety issue as identified by the city, weather stripping, and any other exterior health and safety and code violation improvements deemed necessary by the CRA staff. Let's see. So that's the home improvement program. The proposed funding level for the program is a pilot level funding of approximately $20,000. The program is identified in the community redevelopment plan is an eligible use of CRA TIF funds. And then I can introduce a home ownership program next, or if you would like to discuss the home improvement program right now, we can discuss it right now.
They sound like they'd be separate issues, so let's take this one first.
Okay.
We'll see if we have any questions. I'll start with the deputy mayor first. I'll go.
Well, when I was going through the item, and I'm kind of encompassing both of them, the funding source for this is the same funding source that we just discussed.
Yes, sir.
For the community center or senior center, and doing the math, the $244,000 divided by just for this program alone would only allow for 12 people if they got the full fund, the full $20,000 to participate in this. And then if you include the second program at $15,000 for the purchase of homes in the CRA, there's not many, when you do the math, there's not going to be many individuals that would be able to take advantage of it right away. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, we're trying to put the money towards a different, put it in a different direction. So I think that the program is needed, and I think it's a good program, but I don't think right now is the best time for us to look at funding a program like this or starting a program like this until we get down the road and we have a lot more funds available so that we can put the program out there and let a lot more people join in, because those 12 people get in and all their neighbors and friends and whoever, then you end up with a whole different situation. So I think it's a great program, but I think we need to wait till we have a little bit more money to be able to dedicate to the program.
Okay.
All right. Chief?
Having looked at it, as I agree with Councilman Pollock that both are good programs, but I also agree with him that if we divide the funding, that's going to be less for other things that it depends on what the priority is.
Yes, sir.
All right, Dave?
I agree, although I'll point out, I think what's been presented to us is the maximum funding, and it may be that we're in a position to help some folks, and I really want to think about this a little more carefully, and maybe we put it off till we hear some numbers on the post office, because of the whole purpose of the CRA, and I think the county pressed to include that east part of town. We should try to do something for that area, and this seems like an appropriate thing to do. So maybe we can find a way to slowly grow this program and perhaps be careful about what level of actual awards we're doing. Perhaps the renovations and not the acquisition makes sense at this time. But I think we have to show folks in that part of town that we're also here for them. So I'd like to strike a balance between doing something and not giving them unrealistic expectations and Councilman Pollock's concerns.
All righty, thank you. Tim?
Honestly, I'd be surprised if you had 12 applicants in 1 year. I don't think you will. I think if you get one, you should be happy, and we build from there. So, I think there's no chance we spend $240,000. Maybe we allocate a lot less and hope that we can get it out into the community. It all comes down to how you're going to market this. We have to tell people that we have this program, because there's a lot of paperwork for them to get through to get to that money, and a lot of people just won't fool with it. I looked at some of these standards on they're pretty liberal, to be honest with you. Maybe that's what you intended, but certainly in my experience, if you have a 580 credit score, you're not going to qualify for a 30-year fixed rate.
Understood.
And so, some of these ratios are very liberal as well. So you might want to look to change those to mirror what they would actually have to qualify for a 30-year fixed rate, conventional VA, FHA, because they might as well be the same.
Okay.
Short of that, I think it's a good program that we should always have available as long as we can afford it.
How about on the home rehabilitation program?
I think they're both good programs, worthy programs. I just think getting that money out there is going to be tough for us.
Okay. Keith, go down to you.
Well, if the target area is the east side of the eastern neighborhoods that Dave talked about, we have ION, which has been institutionalized by now, and they, the way it was set up is they are the best at deciding what needs to be done to improve the neighborhood. So, I agree with Tim. Maybe a small amount of funding could be allocated, and maybe put it in a budget as for ION to use, maybe with City Council or CRA Board approval, to improve the neighborhood in general. Like trash cans. They want trash cans out there, and we haven't been able to figure out how to do that.
I think that's actually outside of the CRA down at that end.
Well, that was going to be my follow-up question, is how far does the CRA go over into the Johnson Hills, Washington Heights area?
It doesn't.
It doesn't?
No, I think Avenue B area is as far east as it goes.
Avenue B? Okay.
I think Stephen Street
Is
the western
Reed
boundary.
Road the line, or Lloyd Lane?
I think it's Stephen Avenue.
Stephen Avenue?
All right. Logically, I don't know why we didn't include the whole area over there as far as the CRA, because that they could benefit the most from development of Oviedo on the Park, but that's, I guess, water under the bridge.
It didn't pass the finding of necessity test.
Really?
Yes. When we went further east, it caused, actually, going further east caused the area east of Avenue B, everything to fall out. When we took the Reed Road area out, it worked. The finding of necessity, we fell within the requirements of the finding of necessity.
Okay.
We tried, in other words.
Okay. Well, it'd be nice to somehow get something over there. In the spirit of what Dave and Tim have been talking about, I think some amount of funding, it doesn't have to be a lot, just to make it available, and then as it grows, we can add to it. You know, if I remember the water program we put in years ago, I'm not even sure if we still have the water program where folks could upgrade their landscaping and put efficient water systems in.
Yeah, that was done through the CDBG, the county CDBG program.
Yeah.
That's how we do that. But that's one other thing, too. That's another program that maybe there's a partnership there that the CRA puts in dollars.
But that didn't have an overwhelming response. I can only remember a handful of people taking advantage of it. So that's all I got. Thanks.
All righty. Steve?
I'll be quick. I agree with everything all of you said. I would just add that, when you have a CRA, the first thing you want to do, and I think one of our first meetings is you want to do something, big that everybody in the community can use, like a community center. I love these programs. This is what it really is about, fixing up areas. I think there's so many things in there, like, fixing plumbing and fixing everything. My thought would be, some of these buildings may need so many things, but the first thing to do is improve the appearance of them. Paint them, side them, whatever, and just get the areas looking better. So, but I think this really needs to go on the back burner until we can figure out, with the community center and other needs, Wood Street, other big things that touch the masses in this area. And then as we start getting into, deeper years and have more funding, then certainly these are good programs, both of them. But I just think a little early right now. That's it.
All right. Well, I tend to agree with what Councilman Henkin summarized here. But, John, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
The improvement, can one homeowner be eligible for up to $20,000?
Yes, sir.
Well, maybe maybe we have to cap that somewhere at $1,000 or $1,500. That way, we could possibly make it more available to more people. And then cap it overall at $20,000 as a seed program. Just as a thought. I mean, I'm not quite sure we're going to be able to make a decision on this evening until we see more numbers on the other items we've asked for. Because I do tend to agree, and it has been a goal that we do things that folks see. The Wood Street extension, the community center, while it's in its infancy, it's got plenty of years to go to build up programs like this. So I think we're all about saying the same thing, but if I'm misreading, just speak up and let me know. But it sounds like let's get numbers on a community center. Let's look at other ways of, possibly capping these limits so that way we could affect more folks with a smaller budget.
Understood.
But let me go back up and down the dais one last time after I kind of threw that curveball out there, and we'll see. Tim?
Mayor, I think if you limit it to 1,500, you will get absolutely nobody.
Tim, I was just arbitrarily picking it.
You have to make it financially rewarding to go through the paperwork and the agony of applying for this kind of stuff. And 20 grand would be enough to help someone with a down payment, or 15 with a house.
We're taking the issues as two separate issues. We're going to get to the down payment program next. So right now, I think we're just concentrating on the home improvement
Okay.
section.
1,500 won't buy much.
Well, I was just
Understand.
throwing a number out, anything out there. Just, you're right, 1,500 is probably nothing, but it was just food for thought. Anything else from anyone?
Just a general question that would aid in our discussion. John, do you have handy the estimate of revenues for next fiscal year and the year thereafter?
Yes, sir. The revenue for next fiscal year is anticipated to be around $710,000, and then the year after, it is going to be over $1 million.
So it may be that this is something we can do, but our plate's kind of full, as I've heard with Wood Street and the community center. We don't know the full numbers on both of those. So maybe we agree this is a really good program and put it out there a couple years from now, or revisit it next year.
Okay.
After hearing everyone else, I understand that point of view.
Did Mr. Axel kind of sum up everyone's thoughts?
Not mine.
Pardon?
Not mine.
Okay.
No, I think we need to start this program small and grow it right now, this year.
The home improvement program.
Yes, you keep coming back to that, but I'm talking about both programs.
Yeah, we're going to get the.
I know we're not-
I separated the discussion.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Tim.
Members of the CRA Board, Mayor Persampierre, the requested funding levels are for pilot project status only, and so it would only be for the $20,000 and $15,000 for each program. Then that would be to establish the program and to determine how much use the program it receives, how many applicants, how well received and accessed the programs are. If we see that they're accessed frequently or there's a great amount of community interest to use these programs, then that'll guide us in the future for additional budgeting of funds for these programs.
But if you're going to start it, maybe things that people can see when they're walking down the block. Somebody needs the house painted. You're going to be giving out much smaller grants. So, maybe painting and things that people see as they're going down. I think that'd be a good way to start off, to get it going.
Yeah, the program emphasizes health and safety issues first,
Right.
and then code violations and other items second. So it's to provide decent housing stock within the CRA.
All right. So, John, why don't you put together
Yes, sir.
real numbers, put everything in front of us so we can see what the CRA is going to grow into,
Okay?
the community center numbers, so that way we can make decisions at the next meeting on
You
this
got it.
item.
You got it.
All right. Why don't you roll over now into the homeownership
Yes, sir.
program?
The home ownership program is designed to provide a forgivable 5-year loan of up to $15,000 to income-qualified residents for down payments and/or closing costs for the purchase of a home within the Oviedo CRA. The program provides a zero-interest 5-year forgivable loan to income-qualified applicants who want to buy a home. The program is intended to encourage home ownership within the Oviedo CRA. The home must, some of the applicant eligibility requirements, the home to be purchased must be located in the CRA district. The applicant must meet Seminole County's income guidelines for low income. The applicant must qualify for a 30-year fixed-rate FHA, VA, or conventional mortgage loan, a minimum credit score of 580 and a maximum debt-to-income ratio between 31 to 43%. The homeowner cannot exceed $10,000 in liquid assets, and the home will need to pass a home quality inspection by the City of Oviedo. The eligibility requirements target into folks that want to buy a house but have limited credit scores or not the best credit scores, not a lot of liquid cash available, but they are committed to purchasing a house. And so this is to assist them purchase that house and get started on the road to home ownership. The eligible properties that could participate in this program are proposed to be single-family detached homes, 2 to 4 unit townhomes and condominiums, and either newly constructed or existing. And the other eligible property requirement is that they are located within the Oviedo CRA. The proposed funding request for the pilot level of this project is $15,000.
All right. Thank you, John.
Yes, sir.
I'll start with Keith this time and work our way down.
This one's a little bit bigger to bite off for a down payment, but I'll probably revert back to my previous comments that, starting a small program is probably beneficial and let it grow from there, rather than just shelving it, put it on the back burner until some other time.
All right. Steve?
I agree with Keith. I mean, you could start it small, but just keep your eye on the goal of the bigger things that everybody in the community is going to need. But yes, we can start it.
Bob?
When we were talking about this, are there that many houses in the CRA that this is necessary? Seems like it's more, there's more commercial, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, is there a lot, maybe?
It would be up in the section north of 419,
Right.
across from Jackson Heights. That would be the more eligible area, I would assume.
Okay. All right. Like I stated before, though, I think it's a great program, but I think, when we get more funds, I think it would make it a much better program, as opposed to starting it now and not being able to do much with it. Mr. Slattery had stated earlier that the requirements for it, whether you would even meet given the requirements to participate in this, if you would actually meet the requirements of obtaining a 30-year mortgage, they may be conflicting. We need to make sure that
Yes, sir.
that you don't make it so restrictive that they wouldn't be able to obtain a mortgage. That's all I have.
Chief?
Well, I agree that these type of programs are needed in the CRA area, and I think that if you start small, especially if you're running them as pilots program, to start to see what the response is going to be.
Yes, sir.
By allocating a small amount of money and starting, we can then adjust as the revenue increases, increase the programs as the revenue allows.
Okay.
And leaving that funding available for the bigger items that we discussed earlier.
Dave?
Not to throw another wrinkle out there, but I tend to cast a dim view of helping people with minimal money with a down payment to get a house, because I look at successful programs like Habitat for Humanity, which is sweat equity. People value what they put something into themselves. So I don't want to throw down payment assistance to folks that have no skin in the game. I really don't know how to judge that with respect to the prior program we talked about, but perhaps another way to look at this program is as a matching fund type thing, which may stretch our dollars also and help people who are helping themselves to some extent, that just need a little assistance. I do agree with what Tim said. $1,500 is kind of a low funding level. $1,500 per that you were talking about.
Oh, right.
As an example, I understand. So it sounds now like maybe there's consensus to proceed with some minimal funding level, but it also sounds like we need a little bit of adjustment on the qualifications. And so I don't know if it makes sense, maybe we bring this up at the next meeting with some refinement.
Okay.
Just my thoughts.
Tim?
These qualifications are they're tough. In the financial world, I'm not sure there's a house out there that you can buy with only $10,000 liquid funds. So I think that requirement alone has to change.
Okay.
I think we'd be better off putting some efforts and funding and a little bit of marketing towards the improvement program, start there, and then possibly move into the ownership program if we have some success. As it's written here, I just don't see how we can have any success at all with the ownership program. So maybe we just start in the improvement program. Maybe that answers Steve's So his question's where we can actually physically see some things getting done in this CRA, and maybe that is a good place to start. That's all I have.
Great, thank you. Well, this falls right into my bailiwick. John, I'm surprised to see the amount of money and the fact that there's no repayment on it, because most of these programs, and Seminole County has one, Orange County has one, have rolled back the grant amount. And in the case of the Orange County grant, they actually tack that on to the end of the loan. So eventually what ends up happening is that it allows folks who can't afford the down payment to get the down payment assistance, get into the home, but then their loan actually, they have a second mortgage, so to speak, on the back end, so that eventually when they sell that home, that loan gets paid back. Then there's another variation of the program where, depending on how much time they spend in the home, it depreciates down, but at no point have I seen one lately, and I could be mistaken, I just haven't seen one where it goes away. I've had 3 homeowners buy homes under these programs. Most of them have used the Orange County grant program, not the Seminole County one. Seminole County one, I think, is much smaller, if I remember the dollar amount. They have to take classes. They actually have to go and attend classes. They have to take tests. They have to pass homeownership classes, financial classes. It isn't quite as easy as it looks here when you're looking at it to get this grant program. The minimum credit score at 580, 580, 600 is about where you'll get FHA nowadays. But but then you've got the mortgage insurance on top of it. It's it just depends. 10,000 in liquid assets. There's plenty of times that first-time home buyers getting FHA loans. They basically, that's all they have or less. So you're not off there. But what I'm struggling with here, though, is the dollar amount. B, that it's being forgiven after 5 years. It's, as somebody said it, there's no skin in the game. To have a program where we assist, but we tack it on the back end, that's zero interest, by the way, because that's what they are. They're all zero interest. But if that homeowner sells the home, then the Orange County gets reimbursed. So perhaps let's just look a little further at their programs. Then to piggyback on what Tim said, I sort of kind of agree. If we're going to do one of the two, I mean, the home improvement program, I think, would be better bang for the buck for folks. And yes, I know I said about a $1,500 limit on a repair for the home, and that may be too small. I don't know. It's just trying to find a funding level where we can all agree on it. It would make a difference. But so I think it just needs a little bit more information. I think we all like the programs. I think we'd like to maybe see something started. It seems like maybe the improvement one would get more traction. But as far as the homeownership program, just investigate Seminole County and the Orange County programs a little further and dive into them.
You got it.
And I think you'll see that their assistance levels are much less than what they used to be. They used to be, Orange County was 10,000, and like I said, that got tacked on at the end. There's like a second note on the house. With a little bit more information, I think we can get here.
Very good.
Is there anything else from anyone else on that one?
Good.
Did I summarize that one pretty well? Okay. Great. What else you got, John?
All right. The last item on the agenda, that was it. That's the adjournment.
Oh, that was it, right?
Yes, sir. Our upcoming meetings are scheduled for April 1st, July 15th, and August 19th.
All righty. So the next meeting of the Oviedo CRA will be, I'm sorry, John, you said April 1st?
April 1st, July 15th, and August 19th.
Awesome. All righty. So at this time, it's a little bit after about 6:22. We're adjourned.
Thank you.